Greetings and welcome. You're tuned into TMH's Daily English News. The headlines today: Tigray government reiterates stand on re-establishment of the pre-war status quo. Former UN humanitarian relief chief points to design flaw in the UN system for declaring famine. About 12,000 Tigrayans rounded up from Abala languishing in concentration camps in Samara Afar region. Tigray government says liberation by peaceful means or otherwise of every square inch of Tigrayan territory remains its top priority. The government of Tigray released the statement it released through its External Affairs Office on the status of Western Tigray. The statement said any lasting resolution of the current crisis must be predicted on the re-establishment of the pre-war status quo. The government of Tigray said it took note of an article in Le Monde entitled "In Ethiopia, Negotiations between the government of Tigray to be organized behind the scenes." It added the newspaper suggests that the government of Tigray has loosened its ironclad position on the status of Western Tigray zone and that it might abandon its claims to legitimize constitutionally recognized Tigrayan territory in the interest of facilitating peace talk. The statement underlined this outrageous claim, apparently based on unnamed diplomatic sources in Addis, cannot be farther from the truth. The government of Tigray reiterated that any lasting resolution of the current crisis must be predicted on the re-establishment of the pre-war status quo. It stated that in a practical term, such as steps to requires the complete and verified withdrawal of all invading forces from every square inch of Tigrayan territory seized by the force. The government of Tigray recalled the genocidal war on Tigray has led to the violent revision of Ethiopia's internal boundaries. It added that the expansionist Amhara elite have forcibly seized the Western Tigray zone and committed ethnic cleansing of the area, complicating efforts to bring this tragic war to an end. The statement also noted the genocidal Eritrean army, which has been credibly accused of violating international humanitarian law by using starvation as a weapon of war, among countless atrocities, provides the military muscle behind the occupation of a constitutionally recognized, legitimate Tigrayan territory. It added the Eritrean army also occupies parts of the northwestern, central, and eastern zones of Tigray, with the horrific human rights violations inherent in occupation by a murderous army. The statement said the goal behind such murderous rampage is to manufacture new demographic facts on the ground to legitimize the expansionist Amhara elite's baseless irredentism. The government of Tigray underscored that the liberation by peaceful means or otherwise of every square inch of Tigrayan territory remains its top priority, adding that the status of Western Tigray is not up for negotiation. They urged the international community to insist on and work towards the withdrawal of what is called this marauding gang of criminals who are terrorizing innocent people. The statement noted that the people in the government of Tigray are in principle committed to the peaceful resolution of the current conflict, adding, however, that such commitment does not extend to signing away legitimate Tigrayan territory. They said it is committed to ensuring the return of displaced people of Western Tigray to their rightful homes and to holding their tormentors accountable. According to the statement, Chief of Sanjo Shuttle Diplomacy has made contributions towards creating a permissive environment for the explanation and exploration of peace talks between Tigray and Abiy Ahmed's regime. It also added, saying, "We also understand his efforts have their own serious limitations as well." The statement indicated that the recent release of over 4,000 prisoners of war by the government of Tigray as confidence building a measure is indicative of Tigray's commitment to a peaceful resolution of the crisis. Unfortunately, the authorities in Addis have little appetite to reciprocate our good faith cooperation, the government of Tigray said, adding that despite repeated efforts, there has been little progress, in large part due to the Addis authorities' foot dragging and predilection for coercive tactics. The statement reiterated that the people in the government of Tigray will also extend a cooperative hand if and when the Abiy Ahmed's regime reorients itself away from its coercive mindset and decides to give peace a chance. Former UN humanitarian relief chief says there's a design flaw in the UN system for declaring famine. Mark Lowcock has recently written a book titled Relief Chief, A Manifesto for Saving Lives in Dire Times. In a conversation with Tighat, Lowcock describes his book as both an account of his experience as the head of the UN Humanitarian Affairs coordinating humanitarian operations, with chapters on the major crises across the world, including the Horn of Africa, Syria, Yemen, Sahel, Rohingya, and on natural disasters as well. He also recommends a list of things to do to make humanitarian responses more effective around the world, but from a perspective which is realistic, which does not pretend that the UN or humanitarian agencies have power and influence that they actually don't have. Before Mark Lowcock left his job as a relief chief in June 2021, he bluntly said there is famine in Tigray. Recently, he said Ethiopia successfully blocked the declaration of famine in Tigray and that the international system for declaring famine is broken.
Yes, I talk a lot about those issues, and you quote accurately some of the things I've said in the book about what I thought the Ethiopian authorities were doing to prevent a declaration of famine. This was in basically in the middle of 2021. In terms of things being broken, what I actually said was that the famine declaration system is broken. It's very difficult to declare a famine if that declaration is prevented and obstructed by the government of the country in which it's taken place, because the declaration has to be made by UN agencies, and member states of the UN are, can block those kinds of declarations. So that turns out to be a design flaw in the system for declaring famine.
Mark Lowcock suggested that an international non-governmental body overseeing a system of famine declaration could help remove some of the existing major setbacks and bottlenecks. About 12,000 Tigrayans, including children, women, and the elderly, rounded up from Abala are languishing in concentration camps in Samara Afar region. VOA reported that the detained Tigrayans said they have been incarcerated for the last 5 months under harsh conditions, adding many are dying from hunger and disease. Children, the youth, and elderly, about 12,000 people in total, and only Tigrayans are in detention for over 5 months now. We are in the open sun and the dust, barefooted, and with no mattresses to sleep on. We have come only with the clothes on our backs, and the Afar Special Forces keep watch on us. Many children and elderly people have died as a result of the lack of food and medicine. Even today, we lost 2, 1 girl and 1 woman. Over 70 people have died so far. We, Tigrayans, are languishing under extremely harsh circumstances. Our right of life is denied and our human rights violated. The detained Tigrayans appeal to the international community and human rights organizations to come to their rescue. A popular Tigrayan singer, Dawit Nagga, dies in Addis Ababa at a young age. Dawit Nagga, who was previously detained for about 3 months as part of the general rounding of Tigrayans, has reported that there is yet no clear information about how he died, but many suspect the regime is behind his death. The artist's death has left all of his family, friends, and fans heartbroken. Dawit was a well-known singer, especially for his songs in the native language Tigrinya. Apart from his native country, Dawit was associated with one of the renowned and reputed music brands, Coke Studio. He was among the fewer singers continuing the legacy of Tigrinya music globally. Twitter and other social media platforms have been flooded with grieving notes.
يا حملنا الله يا حملنا عطي ولا عطي ولا لا ولا لا ولا لا ولا لا